Hey, what's up, everybody? Greg Armstrong, the host of the Gospel and Race podcast. I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube page. I want you to find your favorite podcast platform because all of our episodes are there. Be a part of this community. Join us, spread the word. Let's continue with the conversations that are critical to race and the church. Gospel and Race podcast. All right, we're back. The Gospel and Race podcast. We're doing this again, man. I always open up this podcast with my charge to the church, right? Like we cannot stray away from the conversations of race, injustice, etc. in the church. The church should be leading this conversation, and I just always want to make that point clear in the beginning because that's why we exist. We want to have the critical conversations around race, injustice in the church, and I'm excited today because I got my boy here. This is my dog,
man.
Pastor Daddy Flores is in the house, and I'm so grateful for his friendship, and we're both church planners, and so we're going to have a great conversation around the church planning, the state of the church, immigration, and I just want to jump in. Danny, what's up, dog?
What's up, man?
You good?
First of all, I just want to say thank you for having me, man. I really, really appreciate this moment. I look up to you.
Oh, man.
I admire you. You know, you being 30 years older than me, that's... you're like a grandfather to me, man. So
it's
an man. It's just an honor, man. Just an honor to be here, bro. Appreciate it. What a joy just to be here, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you, bro. It's my honor, bro. I remember you and I had a Instagram live conversation during the Floyd situation back in 2020, 21, something around there, talking about the disparaging racisms between the Hispanic population and the Black, which I learned a lot from you. So I referenced that a lot, and so there's a lot to talk about there. But I wanna get into just kind of your world, like what you have going on. Tell us about yourself, your family, your church, your pastor, your leader. He's dope.
Yeah. No, thank you, man. Man, my wife, my kids are doing great, right? My wife and I, we've been married for 18 years now. We got 3 kids. I got 2 high schoolers, man. And then I got my son. He's 11. He's in elementary, about to go into middle school. They're growing.
Yeah.
And by the grace of God, man, as a family, right, we planted. I like to say it's a family.
Yeah.
Because they were part of the whole process of church planting in the city of Elgin. We've always, part of our discipleship with our children, right, does not come from the pulpit. Yeah. Right, does not come from the pulpit. It's very personal. And so we wanted to get them involved in the whole church planting process, from painting the walls, right? So the church planting process for us, it's good. Family's good. We're growing. As I was mentioning to you earlier, we were having a conversation earlier before we started this. We're in a transition phase, kind of like we're not a church plant anymore because we're now on our 7th year. Yeah. We're now an established church, but without a building.
Yeah.
But the Lord has been there, man. The Lord has been there. The Lord has, His hand has been over the church. We are growing, maybe not the way we wanted to. But growth is not always, right? I've learned the growth is not always in numbers.
That's right, bro.
But the influence that God has given you over your city. So when you ask me how I'm doing, church is doing good. My wife is doing good. Though church is in a transition phase, God has given us a lot of influence in the city.
Yeah.
And
that's in Elgin.
Elgin. Yeah, we're in the city of Elgin, man, where I'm not only a church, a lead pastor of our church, but I also work for the Elgin Police Department. Right, I'm the community relations specialist there, so I get to come in between the community and the department and try to bridge the gap, try to bring us together instead of finding out things, instead of pointing things that divide us. I try to find those things that brings us together. Yeah. Right. So that allows me as a pastor, to share the gospel, man. I take every opportunity, man, and they know it, right? So And on top of that, I'm also a soccer coach at the high school.
Check
And the
you
reason
out.
why I'm a soccer coach there was because we had a problem with young people joining gangs and drugs. And so I said, man, if I want to share the message, I got to be a part of their mess. Right. If I'm going to share the message, I got to be a part of their mess. So I got involved. So those are some of the things that I'm doing, man.
I love that.
Leading the church, working with the police department and the community, and also with the schools, man. So
You
that's
got as
kind of
many jobs as I do.
Oh man, I travel with the Billy Graham Association. I don't know if you knew that.
That's right.
I train Latino pastors around the country.
Yeah.
And also with Converge, which we're a part of, doing some coaching and church planting with
Woo.
Latino. So it sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot, man.
It's all interconnected.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's things that don't take my energy away.
Yeah.
They energize me, right?
That's right.
I know I was called to do it, and when you're called to do something, you're wired in a certain way. So
Yeah.
it's not a lot. The Holy Spirit has been there.
So tell me, your connectivity to like law enforcement and all the way in which the world or neighborhoods have been seeing. Are you a bridge between sort of those antagonisms, the police and the neighborhood? Do you work in that space?
Yeah. So yes. They brought me in when the job was offered to me. I knew that to be a part of the change, sometimes you have to be in certain rooms.
Yeah.
Right. And
Absolutely.
And so there's a lot of people that can talk from afar.
Yep.
And not really know what's going on. So in our community, we've had some racial issues,
Yep.
Even within the department.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, man, how is this going to change if I'm only standing on this side and not really trying to find some answers?
Yeah.
So I said, how can I really become a part of the answer? Is, well, I want to be a part of where the problem is, and let's fix this from the inside and then out, right? So, they hired me as a community relations specialist, understanding that I'm a pastor.
Yep.
And the reason why that was offered was because of the work that we were doing as a church.
Yeah.
Right. So it was only the Lord. It was only the Lord opening up that space for, I believe, right, that it was with the intention of sharing the gospel, because what God is doing in the department right now, and what God is doing, from the first floor to the top floor, it's amazing, man. And what God is doing in the community. So it's not community and EPD and I'm a bridge, is now us working together. One as a whole, right? So before I used to look at it as, it's a community versus the department, right? Now it's like, no, we do a lot of things together, and we serve our city together, and we fight together, and right. So we found not just something that can bridge us, but something that just really makes us one.
Yeah, I mean, and to me that's pastoring, right? To me that's really pastoring, being embedded in the community in such a way that it's not isolated, where it's like, let me do my thing over here, and then like if we need you, we'll call you. But that embedded nature of like even coaching, which I coached Ethan's basketball team last year. I wasn't able to this year, but as soon as I can, I want to get back into coaching. To me, that's one of the most intimate pastoral spaces.
Oh my God, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Now, I couldn't coach soccer. You know what I mean? I ain't got no skills there. But my point is, like, I love the fact that you are embedded into a neighborhood in such a way where people don't have to show up to our church on Sunday morning to hear the gospel, where you're living it out in front of them. You know what I mean? And that's why I want to talk about, like, context. Like, the context of Elgin is interesting because Elgin's actually not as small as people think. I mean, you got South Elgin, you got Elgin, and you got Hood Elgin.
Yeah.
Come on. This is my argument. This is my argument about the suburbs being the new urban, because people don't realize that a lot of the disparaging circumstances in terms of economics, in terms of the poor, the marginalized, they are not just in the city.
Oh no.
We're out here.
Come to Elgin, man.
Come to Elgin. I done drove through Elgin like it was Gary. I said, look, when I lived up that way, I used to get my hair cut in Elgin. And I'm like, Elgin, what are you doing out here? And so talk to me about your context and the work that you do, because people need to understand, like, the beauty of this podcast is I want to expose people to these different contexts. Like work is being done in spaces that you are unfamiliar with. Talk to us about Elgin just a little bit.
Yeah. No. So Elgin is called the city in the suburbs because they say.
Is it really?
Yeah. And they say that Elgin is like almost like Chicago.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's nothing like Chicago, right? Because I lived in the city of Chicago for many years.
Yeah.
But it, up to a certain point, it does has that feel. Elgin is a little bit more segregated. I'll be honest with that. It's a little bit more segregated, and so it's really. I mean, even though it's not like Chicago, it feels like it sometimes.
Yeah.
You're able to see. I mean, all kinds of cultures there.
Yeah.
Nothing. Our food is nothing like the food in Chicago. Like I wish that was at there.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the culture, the diversity of it, I mean, it's there.
Yeah.
It's there. They also call it the city of churches because within 1 mile, you have 120 churches. 1 square mile.
In Elgin?
You have a little bit over 120 churches. Yeah, over 120 churches. And so the city is an amazing city, right? I think the people have really come together lately, like over the last 5 years. Maybe the city has grown a lot.
Yeah.
When I got there in 2015, 2016, there was about 120,000 people, 115. Right now, it's estimated that we're close to 160, 170.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great opportunities in the city. I mean, in the city of Elgin for growth. There's why we have a lot of families that are coming in. Though, some small spaces in the city might feel like Gary.
Yeah.
You have a lot of beautiful spaces as well. And the people, I would like to say that Elgin is over evangelized because of the many churches that are there. And there's a lot of religious people. But I think nowadays the young people in the city are hungry, not for religion and churches. They're hungry for Jesus.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I'm seeing lately, man. And so I'm super excited about that. So when it comes to the context of the city, that's a little bit of what's there and a little bit of what's happening. It used to be a very divided city, whites and blacks.
Yeah.
And then you got the Mexicans. But God is doing something amazing, right? With the Latino church and the African-American church or the white church. We're coming together. You still got the, some differences there, but God is doing something there, man. So I believe, right, that this is an amazing, amazing time for the city of Elgin.
In your context, you're first generation Mexican.
Yep.
And your context is Mexican, right?
Yes.
Like your ministry context, your church mainly.
So it's Latino, right? Yeah.
Can you help me with that? Can you help me with Latino? Because I think we all, we're from Chicago, so we've been given terms.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That I don't think I use right.
Yeah.
So you have, we were taught Hispanic, then Latino, then Latina. Yeah. And I'm not being offensive. I'm really wanting to Can you help us define what you mean by that?
Yeah. So just to answer your question, yes, I was born and raised in Mexico, right? I'm first generation Mexican here. I came to the U.S. when I was 18.
Yeah.
I'm U.S. citizen, so don't be calling anyone on me. It took a long time, man. It took a long time, right? So I know the process. I know the pain.
I know the whole thing.
I know the suffering, right? And we'll get into that in a little bit. But born and raised in Mexico. And then when I arrived into the city of Elgin not too long ago, a few years ago before we planted the church, it was because of the Latino community that was there. Not just Mexican, right? When people see brown skin, they're like, hey, look at this Mexican.
Yeah.
But no, our church, we have, probably 13, 14 different nationalities, right? Spanish nationalities. So we've got people from all over Latin America. And I love that. It's very diverse, but a lot of people think that because I'm Mexican, the church is Mexican. And yes, I mean, the law of leadership, right? The law of attraction.
Sure.
You attract what you are, but I like to say that you also attract what you love, right? You also attract what you love. And I love my culture. It doesn't mean that I'm trying to put my culture above any other culture. But the Latino culture, right? I believe that I was called to reach everyone, right? I believe that I was called to reach the world.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, when I tell people about our church, I'm like, no, I'm not just the pastor of our church in the city. I'm the pastor of Elgin. That's the way I look at myself, right? I'm pastoring in the high school. I'm pastoring in the park. I'm pastoring with the homeless. So that's what I believe about what God has called me to do. And in my church is not just Mexicans, there's a lot of nationalities that speak Spanish. And that they say we all look alike. Which I don't think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, our church is a Latino church, very diverse with very many different nationalities.
Wow. Okay. So that I'm glad you said that, because that is something that I didn't comprehend that. Like, there are multiple nationalities represented in a church. You know what I mean? Because we're taught to learn in these categories. Like, Mexican, you're all Mexican. Just like in our church, like, Black, but it's like we have Ghanaian, West African.
Yeah.
Nigerian. It's like everybody ain't just Black or African American. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think that's important. That's an important distinction when it comes to sort of the conversation of reconciliation, the conversation. And like I was talking on the podcast earlier, we won't know that unless we sit like this.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, we won't know. Like, I'm sure I love my church. Yep. I'm sure we walk into our church and we could take the next 3 years and learn from the Latino community in terms of how you live, how you function, kind of how you commune together, all those kind. And I'm praying we do more of that, man, because it's actually pretty fascinating. You know what I mean? And so like, so what you're doing in Elgin, a Mexican, first generation Mexican pastor pastoring multiple nations within a Latino community. How is that working?
Yeah.
Like, let me say this. How do you gather? How do you attract? Is it because you're Mexican pastor, people flock to it? Is it not, not that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So, and our church is a bilingual church because we have two services, one in English and one in Spanish.
And one in Spanish, right?
Yeah. My kids are second generation, but at our church we have first generation, second generation, and third generation, right? That's third generation Latinos. So how do we attract that? Usually Latinos look for Latinos.
Okay.
Right? It's just kind of like what it is, right? Latinos look for Latinos. But at our church, I usually like to ask people, how did you find out about our church?
Yeah.
Right? And what do you like about it? No one has ever told me, oh, I found it because you're a Latino church. I found it because you had a Spanish service. It's always been, I was told about the message. I was told about the gospel.
Yeah.
And when I came, I ended up staying because of how you love, because of how you care. So to me, it's in my situation, and in my case, it's never been, we come to your church because you're Latino.
Right.
It's more, we come here because we love the message and because we love how we are loved.
Yeah.
So those are the two things. Now, in the Latino culture, you look for churches that look like you, that speak like you, that talk like you.
Yeah.
But that, I remember going to a Latino church, where it was a Mexican church, because the pastor was Mexican and they celebrated Mexican Day and Cinco de Mayo, but only things that were Mexican. So without trying to do so, you were segregating the church. You were causing division. So, and it happens a lot in the Latino church, that even the Latino church, if the pastor is Mexican, it becomes a dominant culture.
Yes.
Right. And you try to impose your emotions, your feelings, your food, your music, on other Latinos. And I never agree with that. I'm like, no. So, at our church, we never celebrate like Mexican Day or nothing that has to do with one specific culture. Yeah. We celebrate Jesus and we love people. And that's, kind of what we are. But other churches, and I'm not criticizing any. I just grew up in one of them where the pastor was Mexican. And then if you weren't Mexican, you really never fit in.
You never really fit.
Exactly.
That's a constant struggle, man, because, our church is, we consider ourselves very intentionally multi-ethnic. Mm. And so we do have various cultures represented, ethnicities represented in our church. But it's funny because, like, we want to recognize everybody. And it gets tough to do so.
Yeah.
unless you have representation in the church that can make you aware of it. But I found out that every culture doesn't want to make you aware of their representation to actually give voice to it, right? Cinco de Mayo's coming up, Asian Pacific Islander Month. You know, we have all these folks representing our church where we try to like go, hey, boom, you've helped us with some of that, right? Like you helped us with a video a few years ago where how do we celebrate, you know, Latino culture? How do we celebrate, you know, Asian culture? How do we do that? And they were always chasing the wheels, trying to make sure like everybody's represented, which I think is a beautiful endeavor. I think the problem is, like me as a black pastor, the texture of the church, it just always leans that way, right? It always leans, you know, turn the organ up. You know what I mean? So we're going to sing this song. Or, you know, change that music. And we're always trying to work towards, you know, kind of balancing the beam in terms of culture in our church where it doesn't feel like a black church. A friend of mine, Theon Hill, I was talking to him about this, and he was like, man, if everything's going to be black, just call it it's a black church that welcomes everybody else. But if it's going to truly be multi-ethnic, you have to have the texture of different ethnicities present in the church. Here's my question for you. My problem is I feel like I struggle with that because it's like, oh, let's throw a bone to the Latino community. And I don't know that we intend for it to be like that, but I wonder, is it received like that? Like, oh, thank you for the acknowledgement this Sunday, and we won't hear about it till next year. Can you help me with that, as a leader?
Yeah, it feels. Yeah, I think it goes both ways, right? I think people sometimes, I mean, we as pastors can make that mistake where it feels like we are throwing bones at other cultures, right? You and I mean, we lead pastors, and it starts with intentionality.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's. It leans, you were mentioning, you lean towards the organ, right? And I lean to certain songs as well, right, that are very known in the Mexican culture. It just happens that way. It doesn't mean just because it's been the narrative is not normative, right? It doesn't mean it's right. We got to change that, and we got to be more intentional in doing so, because even me being Mexican, we're the dominant culture at our church. But that doesn't mean that everybody needs to worship the way we do, that everybody needs to talk the way we do, pray the way we do. So it starts with intentionality. And what I mean by that is, as I mentioned earlier, we attract who we are, right? So you're going to attract more of the African Americans. I'm going to attract more of the Mexicans, right? Because when they hear me speak, when they hear me say jokes, you know, when they hear me just do certain things, they know I'm Mexican.
Yeah, they feel it.
They feel it. But we're also going to attract who we love. And if we really show love, genuine love, week in and week out, the people that don't look like us, but that are loved by us, will show up. Will show up. We as a church, right, we serve our city, but the majority of the people that we serve in the city is the houseless population. Okay, they have homes. It might not look like yours, it might not look like mine, but it's a houseless population. We call them our friends, and some of them show on Sunday. And they're African Americans. Some of them are white. They don't show because they look like us.
Right.
They don't show up because we sing like them. They show up because we love them genuinely. So we have been intentional, but there's still a lot more that needs to be done, right? Sure. So I just believe that it starts with us, man. Us at the top. Right. We're gonna take the blame on this one, and because we lead the way, right? And culture starts at the top. And so for me to be more intentional, and if they see that from us, and if we disciple the church in that area, right? I believe that we can be more effective, not trying to be a multi-ethnic church, but a church that really loves everyone. And shows it.
We attract who we love. Put that on a t-shirt. That's a word, bro. Come on, for real. Dude, so because of the polarization of America, don't you feel sometimes, especially ethnic minorities, like sometimes I kind of rail against like the tribalism, like, okay, you want to be with your people. But man, I'll be honest, man, I've had some seasons where I'm like, just give me my people, man. I've woken up, you know, with the difficulties of a multi-ethnic church. I've woken up plenty of times saying, you know what, we going black, baby. it's going to be easier. It's going to be more sustainable, right? It's less of a fight. But
And my question is, and sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Because I was there, man.
Yeah.
But is it God?
No, I agree, I agree with that question.
Yeah.
And all I'm saying is, like, is it wrong for, like, even the people that come to our church that are Latino to feel like, man, I just need to be with us. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because of the polarization, because of the issues with race and injustice. And you're right, like we shouldn't just only want, we attract who we love. I completely agree with that. And then also, I think when I think about ethnic minorities, I'm thinking like, man, you know, this Sunday I need to go be with some black people. Yeah. You know what I mean? Do you see that sometimes?
Oh man, I was in the steam room when I texted you one day, and I was broken. I was crying. Yeah. And I said, Bishop, I need prayer. I remember that. Yeah. And I didn't call you. That was my bad. No, because good. I just needed to express.
But I prayed for you, bro.
Right. I just needed to express that I needed to pray, and I felt it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I just needed to tell someone. Yeah. That was one of those moments where I'm like, screw everything. Yeah. I'm just gonna go all Spanish because that's my first language, right? Yeah. And I've had a few seasons like that. Mm-hmm. And I've had to ask myself, wait, is this? Am I trying to do this just because it's gonna be easier? Right. And I'm going to feel more comfortable.
Because it will be.
Or no. Or is this God?
Right.
Right. Because to have a multi-ethnic church, to have a multi-generational church, first, second, third generation Latinos, it's double and triple the work, man. It's a lot of work. Because, okay, how can you cater to everyone? Yeah. You know, you got some that just speak Spanish. That's it. And then you got some that are bilingual, and then you got some that only speak English, right? So how do you bring everybody together, you know, and how do you promote this here, and how do you promote that? So it's double and triple the work sometimes. So I've always had to ask myself, is this just because I want to be more comfortable and I want this to be easier, or is God really calling me to do this? And every time I ask myself that question, I find myself saying, but this is me, right? Is God has called you to reach everyone, right? And we get it. The easiest thing for me would be, just be with the Mexicans. Yeah. And we could kill it. Like I've always told my wife and some of the leadership, if we stop this English service, because it's not my first language, and I try my best, right, to embrace the English culture, the American culture. My children were born here. They're being raised here. I still feel like a little bit off. Right, so I'm like, man, I'm just gonna go all Spanish, Spanish, right? Old school Pentecostal. Yeah, I know that we can just explode. Yeah, but when I think about not just my kids, but the kids of those we serve, and I think of the next generations, I'm like, I can't be selfish. Yeah, right. Yeah. I cannot be selfish. Yeah. So I find myself there many times, man. But I always end up surrendering to the Lord and saying, this is what I was called to do. I'm not saying everybody's called to do it. This is not easy, but I believe that I was wired that way and that the Lord anointed me, right, to do it that way.
That's right. And I feel the same way, man. I feel like every time that I wanted to just kind of jump off the train because, you know, even in the multi-ethnic space, many people have abandoned it because it was hijacked by, you know, white superiority. It was hijacked by these frameworks that were not truly it were multi-ethnic in look only, right? In the, you know, the cloak of multi-ethnic. But when it came down to really leaning into how do we steward various cultures in the gospel and understand those differences, like many people just abandon it, and for many for good reasons. And I just wanted to jump on the train with him, like, hey, maybe this ain't God, you know what I mean? But you're right, man. It's the same thing with me. You know, when obedience comes into play, then God, God often kind of whispers to me, well, if you're not going to do it, then who is? Not that other people aren't, but from my context, this is neat. Like, this is absolutely needed. And aren't you grateful, man? Like, sometimes you just get maybe a word out the blue or a call or a text or a confirmation to say, this is why you're doing what I'm calling you to do. I be needing that, bro.
Yeah.
I've been needing that to keep going. So
good, man.
That's awesome.
Let me share something real quick, man. When one thing that I've noticed right over the last 2 years, when you have a multi-ethnic church, a lot of the times we worry about trying to cater here or there, and how do they see this? How do they see that? But what we've seen and what I've seen as a pastor is that if we just focus on the mission, there's a moment where you stop seeing color or you stop hearing language. Okay? Because our production director, he's African-American, right? And the more I think about it, it's like, but we're on mission. We don't even look at him as being the African-American, as being black. Right, it's and he doesn't look at us as like being Mexican or Latinos. It's just because we're so focused on the mission that God has given the church and discipleship, we have forgotten about the color or the language. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's to me, it's if we focus on mission, right, and we disciple everyone, right, on that mission. Yeah. There comes a moment where you stop feeling like there's this division or I don't know how to cater to everyone, right? That's just what I've been experiencing.
Yeah, and I think within the scope of like a church community, right? Like you can have this forwardness as a community where like, hey, we're focused on the gospel, we're focused on the mission. My thing is that when cultural disparities come, now we need a discipleship that does see my Latino brothers and sisters, that does see my Black brothers and sisters, and how do we? I was talking with I was talking with Brian Dye about this, about discipleship is biblical discipleship, disciple making, et cetera, et cetera. But then I also do think we need a discipleship into the differences of these cultures and what they're experiencing in the world, right? Because Black people that leave my church on Sunday are having a different experience than my Latino people, a different experience than my white people, et cetera. And so I think we need to lean into that. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about even just these last couple years, the politicizing of Latino culture, the politicizing of immigration, the politicizing of the polarization of Black, white, Latino. And I have so much work to do in learning. I hate saying that. I don't mean to say it like that, because a lot of people say that as an excuse. But I do. I have a lot of work to do in learning, like, what's going on? What's going on in this immigration battle? Like, what's really at play here? I was talking with Daniel Yang about it, about the work that he does at World Relief. I was talking about these other communities that they're dealing with immigration issues. Help us with what's going on. You know what I mean? Yeah. With immigration, with your community specifically, and what you've been leaning into this last year.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep it real.
Yeah.
What's going on and how do we feel, right, could probably potentially be two different things. But we feel attacked, right?
Yep.
That's just how I feel. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a U.S. citizen. But I came into this country illegally.
Yeah.
Right? It was either if I stay in Mexico, I was going to die, right? That was my situation, right? Yeah. I'm not going to go into all of the details.
Sure.
But if I stayed in that city, I was going to die. And it was you either look for a better future and get away from this or you die. So I crossed the border. That's how I came here. Yeah. Crossed the border, walked the desert, part of it.
Yeah.
And once I got here, this is how I came to the Lord. Once I arrived in the U.S., right? I'm 18. And by the grace of God, I was able to marry my wife. She was a U.S. citizen. And in 2012, I got my residency. Then I became a U.S. citizen after that.
Yeah.
If not, the process would have taken many years, right? So when I say I feel attacked, I'm giving you some context because there are so many Dannies out there right now in the Latino community, right, that are being targeted just because of the color of their skin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. As I mentioned earlier, I work at the Elgin Police Department.
Yeah.
ICE came into our city, right? ICE came into our city, and they took one of our members.
No.
Okay. They took one of our members. There's videos out there. It was on the news. They were not even looking for him, but because of the color of his skin, the window of his car was broken. No warrant, no nothing, gets dragged out of the car, right? I get the call at the moment. The wife is really right now at that moment. She's hurting. She's thinking, is the police department? I'm like, no, we don't do that.
Right.
That's not happening. It's not us. I'm on the radio. I'm asking. And then the video comes out and it's eyes taking this person just because of the color of his skin at that moment. And then there's collateral damage. They're looking for somebody else, but we're going to take you. So when I say we feel attacked is because I'm brown.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're attacking my people.
Yeah.
Right? And not only my people, my church. And it affected my church spiritually, and it affected my church financially, and it affected my church emotionally, right? And it affected families directly of our church, right?
What does that drive into a community after something like that happens?
Fear, man. It drives fear. It drives, I would hate to say it, but for a moment's hate.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't come from like a bad place. It just comes from a place of confusion.
Yeah.
Right. And for us as a church community, we know that the Holy Spirit is with us. We know that God is there, but there's still fear. There's still anxiety.
Yeah.
There's panic, man.
Yeah.
There is panic. It turns into psychosis. Now people are seeing things everywhere.
Yeah. Paranoia.
Paranoia. Yeah. So for me, man, when you ask that question, you feel attacked, but at the same time, I have seen it as a great opportunity to disciple people, right? The first thing I did was that we put a small group together to disciple people in these issues. And what does it mean, right, for us as Christians to love our neighbor?
Yeah.
Right? What neighbor, right? Like, is it the one that looks black, the one that looks brown, just like one neighbor, right?
Yeah.
Let's identify what Jesus meant by that. So I took the time to disciple people into this so that we wouldn't turn our face and say, I'm a U.S. citizen now. That's not my problem.
So there could be this ripple effect of, hey, I'm gonna let y'all deal with this.
Oh, it's happening.
Because it's happening because I'm a citizen. And I think I heard this from another friend that almost there could be an arrogance then within the community to say, hey, well, you should have did it the right way or you wouldn't have those issues.
I ran into a pastor, bro, and I hate to say it, but he says, well, they should do it the right way. So I said, how did you come here?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that was a different time. No, right? It's, bro, it happened to me.
Yeah.
This is how I did it. I don't know how they did it, but we are here. We're trying to really look for a better life. Now, I get it. Sometimes there are certain things, right? There are certain crimes that are committed that have certain consequences. Perfect, no problem. But in this case, some of the people that were being targeted had absolutely no criminal record.
Right. None.
And so they were being targeted, and my thing was, well, we really need to disciple the church into what loving our neighbor really means, and what does it look like? How can we put it into practice in moments like this? How can we reach out? What can we do? You know what I mean?
Man, that's interesting, man. Thank you for sharing that, bro, because I was trying to draw on the emotion of like what that really was feeling like, especially in Latino communities. Like we watch it on the news. But I think this type of discipleship is so important so that we actually have a real framework for what's going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How it is, as a pastor, there's the one issue you mentioned about like, hey, we did it the right way, quote unquote, whatever. But then also, how are you dealing with the grief of it in your community? I mean, that pastorally, I've had to pastor through some racial disparities in our church, quite often, right? When there's some sort of there's some sort of cultural tension or issue, or someone's killed or something like that. How are you leading through that? I mean, you're discipling people, I understand.
Yeah.
But Has the pastoral work increased?
A lot. And how am I dealing with it is with a lot of grace.
Yeah.
With a lot of grace.
Yeah.
Because the way we're discipling the people right now and the way I'm pastoring people in this season is the same grace that has been shown to you, right? We must show to those who even attack us or don't stand up for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I had to reach out to some pastors, Anglo pastors, and said, man, I wish you would have just given me a call or a text and say, I'm with you. That's it. Ministry of presence means a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I had to do it with grace because I didn't want to end up hating my brother I was called to love.
Yeah.
First I've had to disciple myself into showing the same grace that God has shown me to those who did not stood up for me when I felt that they needed to. You know what I mean? When I send you that text, dude, I was feeling lonely.
Yeah, man.
I was feeling, just down. I'm like, man, where are these pastors that can speak up for us?
Yeah.
Right? And once again, I'm a U.S. citizen. I could potentially just be like, man, you know what? Screw you. You do your thing.
Yeah.
I'm over here. I already made it. I'm like, no, this is my people.
Yeah.
Right? This is my people. This is the people that are hurting. And because Jesus called us to love our neighbor. Now, what does that mean? There's no greater love than each and every one of us would lay down our lives, right?
Yes.
For those we love. And so for me, it was like, if I'm really going to say that I love God, and he has called me to love my neighbor, then I have to show it.
That's right.
Right? Then I have to show it. And I have to show it by laying down my life, by laying down my pride, by laying down, I'm going to go a little deeper into this, my tithes and offering. What do I mean by that? A lot of people are afraid to talk about what's going on right now because some people in their church
it's going to hit the
don't
pockets.
want you to talk about it. And it's attached to the tithing on Sunday, and it's attached to your offering.
Yeah.
And you don't want that to happen. So you care more for the money.
That's a fact.
Than for the people that God has called you to serve and lead.
Right.
So for me, I've had to really lead with a lot of grace in this season, man. And instead of going online and calling people off, because I used to do that, I have to be honest. I've had to hold back, call certain people and say, hey, man, I want to have this conversation with you. But do it graciously.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of attacking, doing it with love and trying to understand why. But there's no excuse of why you would not stand up against something that's being done unjustly. That's
right. I mean, that's what biblical justice is.
Exactly.
Justice is doing what's right.
Yeah.
And we try to categorize. Sometimes I do think, like, there's so much wrong. Like, it's like, man, I struggled even, watching all this unfold with this presidency and watching Latinos and other immigrants just being like sent away from here, bro. And I'm not even know how to process this. And so, like, my question to you, how do we stand up for that? How do we stand up for the immigrant neighborhoods that are being ravaged? How do we be present?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know you're not asking for any favors, but I'm just,
yeah.
If you're talking to me like, man, here's what it looks like. Here's what we need.
Yeah. Here's the practicality of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
man.
Well, first of all, the number one thing that I told some pastors, the ministry of presence says a lot.
Yeah.
Right. You talk about how are we present? Well, by being present, right?
Yeah.
I told this face to face to an Anglo pastor, a white pastor that I know. I said, hey, man, next time something like this happens, come and sit next to me on a Sunday. Don't say anything. Don't say anything.
Yeah.
Just sit right there with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I will know that you are there. But not only that, the message to the congregation that a white pastor showed up. Bro, I'm not asking you for money.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you for nothing. All I'm asking is that you come and you stand next to me.
Yeah.
Right? During the George Floyd situation, our city, it was going through a rough time.
Yeah.
Something had happened there, and it was pretty crazy. So I went on a march with some of the people, with the African American brothers from the city. And I went out. I was the only pastor out there, man. I don't say this pridefully. At the time, I was the only one out there. And I went and I walked. Somebody recognized me. They're like, "Pastor, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "Just supporting."
Yeah.
I had no words, man.
Yeah.
I had no words. I didn't even know what to say. All I said was, "I'm here." And when they were about to throw stones at the police department, I got up in front of the door and I said, "Hey, listen, I'm no one here, but this is not the right way to do it."
Yeah.
They listened. I was just present. I had I had nothing to say. Then they invited me to a rally and they wanted me to speak to them.
They want to hear your voice.
They want to hear my voice, but it started by me being present. It means a lot, right? So as a pastor, just be present. Be present at some of our events. Come to my church uninvited.
Yeah.
Show up. Be in the back. Be in the front. Just come. Say hi to people. And then be vocal.
Yeah.
And say, "Hey, I'm with you." Right? You might not have the tools. You might not have the resources. You might not have the lawyers or the connections. All I want to know is that somebody's with me.
Yeah.
And that is vocalized. Because I have a lot of secret friends.
Yeah.
It's friends that when something happens, they go online and they'll send me a message, but they're afraid to do it in public.
Right.
They're afraid to do it in public because, once again, it's attached to something else.
That's right.
They don't want to get it. And I'm very vocal, man.
Yeah.
Maybe other pastors want that secrecy.
Yeah.
Maybe they want it that way. I'm like, no, if we're going to be about this, the people must know what we're about.
That's right.
Because there's a greater message there, right? There's a greater message there. So be present, be vocal.
Yeah.
Right? Those are two things that I see. And then let me know that you're praying, man. Because a lot of the times, I'll be very honest, there's not a lot that can be done sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially in situations like this. There's not a lot that we can do, man. I mean, if the Constitution is not being respected,
right.
what are you and I going to be able to do? Right? But if you're present, if you're vocal, and I know you're there, and you're praying for me, right? We as a church, we went as far as providing financially for our member that was deported.
Sure.
We supported the family to move there, and right. But that's some stuff that we could do as a church for this one. We probably won't be able to do it for all of them.
Right.
But there are some just very practical things that mean a lot, such as just being present and being vocal.
It sounds like it really sounds like the gospel, right? And as you're talking, I'm thinking about how segregated we really are. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then when economics get involved, it's we dealt with that as a church through Flores. I mean, that's how this podcast got started. I was going to lunch or coffee with somebody, mainly white pastors, like every week, and they're like, "Man, talk to me about race and talk to me about like just help me see," you know what I mean? And I would say things like, "Man, we need some martyrs, man. I mean, we need some martyrs, bro. Like you're going to lose a lot speaking up for the disparities of black injustice." Yeah. And I'm not making this pod about white pastors specifically, but the reality is there's always going to be a sacrifice in standing up for the oppressed.
Exactly.
There's always going to be a sacrifice. And what I learned when some buddies of mine told me, "Yeah, man, I lost 7%, 10% of my congregation because I mentioned, racial justice. I lost this." And that's sad, but it's a reality for a lot of our white pastors. But we started the podcast to talk about this stuff because I just couldn't keep going to lunch with people. But then also just to kind of create a medium for people to lean in and hear stories, like real stories. Not getting off Fox News or getting off CNN or getting off some, off TikTok or whatever, but like real stories of especially men and women of faith who are like, "Hey, this is actually going on in my neighborhood. Like there's actually a deportation out of my church that was unjustly done, and the Constitution could not be upheld." You know what I'm saying? And so like, what it shows me though is that we are so much in our bubbles with our churches that we're not even ready when disparity comes. You know what I mean? Like, so here's what I imagine. I imagine that we can have, and I know that some of this may seem unrealistic, but I imagine that we all we can be so intertwined, especially like cross-ethnically, so intertwined that there's not even a question.
Yeah.
Oh, what's going on with Danny? I mean, you were the first person I thought about when I saw that, because I know the context that you're serving in. But we all should be so intertwined.
Exactly.
To be feeling that same pain. And I'll be honest, we all don't feel each other's pain enough. We don't mourn with one another or rejoice with one another. And so I want to really charge the church with that, or leaders or pastors with that. I believe in these multi-ethnic relationships. Your circle should be so diverse that you can feel the pain of cultures who are experiencing disparity in various seasons.
Yeah.
Like, we got to have that, bro.
Yeah. Your problem should be my problem.
Exactly.
You know, your pain should be my pain.
Yeah.
If we're called to love like God, like Jesus, that's what we should disciple our people in, our churches in. It is mine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna embrace this. This is my issue. It's not just the Latino issue. It's not just the black issue or the white issue. This is our issue.
Yeah.
Right? And this is our issue, and we got to embrace it, and we got to go against it. But when you look at history, man, every person that stood up against injustice sacrificed everything.
Everything, bro. Everything.
You know, and I don't think we're willing to do that nowadays because we know the cost.
Yeah.
Right? I remember during the George Floyd thing, I lost on Instagram about a little bit over 1,000 followers.
Mm-hmm.
Because I stood up.
Yeah.
Now, I get it. There's a lot of things that maybe some of these leaders are for. I just wanted to make sure that justice was done.
Yeah.
And those who had been suffering for a long time needed to know that there was other people there with them.
Yeah.
And so I made their pain my pain. And in any season, in my church, the homeless community, their pain is my pain.
Yeah.
We started building tiny homes in our homeless community because we were feeding the homeless community a tent city at one point, and when we went to a tent, he had passed away in the cold, froze to death. And I said, never again. Not as long as I'm a pastor in Elgin. Yeah. This is not going to happen. So we started building tiny homes. 33% of the budget was going to that. And I said, this is my issue. If, as a pastor, I can't embrace this, then what I'm saying is that's your problem.
That's your thing.
That's your thing. And right. So I think that every time you stand up against some type of injustice, there will be a huge sacrifice. And we need to start discipling the church, man. We need to start discipling the next generation. They want to be discipled that way. They see right through us, man. They see the young people see right through us. They know if you're real, if you're not real. They know what you're about. And they don't see color. They don't see color, man. They don't see ethnicity. They see people who are hungry, people who are lost, people who need God. And if we really say, or we truly say that we love God, we must be willing to sacrifice.
Yeah. I want you to do me before we wrap. I want you to give a charge to pastors of all ethnicities. So if you had let's say if you had like a 60-second sermon you had to give to, you know what I mean? And what's, from what's on your heart.
Let me go to AI, man, real quick.
Write me a sermon to pastors. AI is getting crazy, man.
Yeah, bro.
But just give a charge to pastors. I want to close with that. Give a charge to pastors as, I do want you to do it as a Mexican leader, right? In Western America in 2025, and give an encouragement as to what you feel like God wants to see amongst all of us.
Yeah,
I put you on the spot right there, but
I don't know if I have a 60-second sermon because I always go over my sermons, man. But to all the pastors, man, who would be watching, whether it's 1, 10, 20, doesn't matter. If you're a pastor, not just the pastors, leaders, those who will be watching. Coming from a first generation Mexican, right, that did not grow up here, that came to this country illegally, that fought through a lot of difficult times. What would I love to see from you? What am I challenging you to do in a season like the one we're going through now, right? First, let me tell you what I want you to know. I want you to know that we're here, not because we're trying to take over anything that maybe people claim that is theirs. We're here really, first of all, because we're looking for a better life. We just want better for our families. We want better for ourselves.
Yeah.
I want you to know that the process is not like people think it is. It's not as simple as just going to an office and say, I want a visa. It takes longer than that. So that has forced many of us to cross the river and to come into this country the way we did. And we came here not to take absolutely nothing from you. We came here because we believe we can add to what was already being built here. So now let me challenge you. I want to challenge you to love me. To love me at my worst, even if you don't know me. To love me because God has called you to do so. To look above and beyond the color of my skin and how I came into this country. But to love me and to believe in me. If you believe in me and you pour into me, I would double that. I would double that. And if you disciple me, I will give my life for the gospel and for the place that I'm in. That's just how we are, and that's who we are. So I hope that you can look above and beyond, right, the color of my skin and the way I came into this country, but that you will look at the purpose of why God brought me here.
Oof. That's good. We're going to end on that. Look, I'm challenged, man. I appreciate you, man. I love you. Thank you for putting us on real game.
Well, thank you for the invite, man.
Man, thank you for letting us know what's really going on. Because that way we can lead better and we can support one another better.
Amen.
And so I want, man, keep going, man. Be encouraged.
Thank you, Bishop. Thank you for the invite.
Man.
Thank you for answering my text, man, and praying for me, man. I really appreciate that.
Dude, I got you, bro.
Just know that I love you, man, and that this is an honor for me.
Dude, honor for me. Hey, Pastor Danny Flores. Y'all give it up.
Y'all.
The Gospel and Race Podcast. Peace.
God bless you.